I see. I'm going to begin now. I just want to start by asking if you guys remember anything from last week, and that's Kai and Kiana. Anything last week that we talked about, what we would have discussed.
Pardon me?
Don't you remember anything that we would have done last week?
Um, that the productivity is the measure of the output. The favorite productivity would be the output of divided by the implies and the input.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The way the productivity important is that it is cause like efficiency and how to like improve this to use the capital and stuff like that.
Okay. So you are correct in terms of saying that productivity is the measure of the level of outputs that we get from the level of inputs. Um, you're also correct in terms of saying that the ways in which we could improve productivity. I'm just going to recap that today. It says you can organize work more efficiently to reduce waste of time and resources. So you can basically make sure that you have a proper layout, that your workers are working smart and not hard, so that you can reduce the time wasted when you are um, producing, so that your productivity can increase. And then it says they use more productive and advanced resources. So you don't want to use obsolete machinery, obsolete technology, because that also um, that can also thwart the increase of productivity. We have here training employees. So if you train your employees in a particular area, or if um, there is a new way to make a product or something like that, you may have to train your employees so that they will be productive when they are making this particular product. It says another point is that you have to find approaches to motivate your staff. So if your staff is not motivated, they are not going to work at their optimum. They're going to waste a lot of time. You know, their work ethic is going to be terrible, and it will decrease productivity. And you can also increase productivity by using automation and computerization. So it is not necessarily everything that you need human labor to do. So instead of, for example, something simple like a calculator, you could have you could use the computerized system of um, checking items and cashing items, or you could use a cash register um, when um, when you're selling items, so that you can increase productivity, so that you can lessen the amount of time that you spend doing XYZ. So we're now looking at why is productivity important. So just now we looked at how we can improve productivity, and now we're looking at why it is important. And the first point that we have here is that it improves the labor supply. Can anyone tell me why they think productivity would aid in improving the labor supply? How can productivity aid in improving the labor supply? Just a wild guess.
Um, because if we have a good rate of production,
Hmm.
that would allow us to bring more room for workers.
Well, and yes,
No?
in layman terms, yes. So basically, what we need to understand is that if if the firm is more productive, they are going to have more sales and they can employ because there's more income coming in, so they can employ um, more workers if you're looking at it in grand scheme of things. But first, we need to understand what the labor supply is, and this is this refers to the number of hours, the number of hours that a labor force is prepared to work at given wage rate. So how long they're planning to work, given their the amount of money that they're going to be paid. So it's literally is like the supply of labor. These workers are supplying the firm with labor. So that's what the labor supply is. It says this can be increased by raising the wages, and so people will be inclined to work for longer hours to benefit from higher incomes. So when you're productive, you can increase your wages, and so people will be probably more inclined to be hired for this job, one, and two, work for longer hours to benefit from higher incomes. And it says, however, once their income increases, they can decide to take more time off for leisure. So while that is a good thing, now that you have more money and now that your paycheck has increased, you may decide, you know what, I am going to take a longer, I deserve a longer vacation. I don't want to work overtime anymore. These hours that I work in overtime, I have the extra money so I could go out for dinner or out for lunch or whatever the case may be. Then we must also take in consideration how hard and efficiently people work. So this is in terms of improving the labor supply. Productivity should also increase when employees work smarter. So my just like y'all know, my graduation yearbook quote was work smart, not hard, and I think that that's something you should take throughout life. Do not make things that are simple harder than it actually is. Find the right way, first of all, a quick way and an efficient way to do things so that you can cut down the amount of time that you spend doing that particular thing, but still produce quality results. So employees must learn to work smarter rather than necessarily hard because you could be working hard but barely producing anything. But if you work smart, for example, the same example we had with the pizzas, instead of just cutting up the vegetables for one pizza at a time, you could come to work maybe and cut up a whole set of sweet peppers, a whole set of onions, separate the we call it pepperoni, all that stuff before the dough comes out so that when it is time to put the vegetables on the pizza, it's not that you now have to go and start cutting them up. Use work smarter and not harder. So through this, they can work for shorter hours. So you spend less time, but you're still able to be efficient. Is it clear so far?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So I have a table or yeah, basically a table here, and it says it has the effect on production and the effect of productivity, and this is um, basically what employees do. So if the employees work longer, the production level may rise. So the output that they actually produce will may rise. But in terms of productivity, it may not increase. It may have no impact on productivity because remember the productivity is measuring the output in terms of the inputs given. So you may produce five five pizzas, but your is like five workers there. When in reality, you may only have one worker who is able to produce five of the same pizzas. If employees work harder, sorry, the production level will rise, so you will have more output, and there will be an increase or some increase on productivity. But if employees work smarter, you will have um, an increase in production and an increase in productivity because the resources are being used efficiently. And yeah, that's basically it. So the next thing or the next reason why productivity is important is because it allows for human resource development. And human resources are the employees who make up the workforce of an organization. Human resource development involves improving the contribution made by employees to the firm by providing them with opportunities to become motivated and effective. So how can for example a human resource manager, or how can a firm make sure that there's development going on in their workplace amongst the employees, that the employees are not stagnant, they're not improving, they're not increase just developing as an individual and oh an employee. How can how can the human resource department ensure that there is development amongst their employees? Okay, what are the things that they could possibly do, or what can they possibly check to see if there's development amongst their employees? If you don't know the answer, you can say that's fine.
I don't know.
Okay, right. So inside the workplace, the human resource department can implement systems such as appraisals and appraisal interviews. So an appraisal is basically a formal evaluation of an employee's performance. So you will be looking at how much they're able to produce in a given amount of time, how much days they're absent, how much if they come in long after the lunch break is over. All of these things when you're doing an appraisal. So the HR manager, the human resource manager will come and they will interview the employee, and they will not interview, evaluate the employee's performance. So it may be they just come and stand up and watch, or they may look at stuff on a camera. But whatever is done and done, they have to evaluate the employee's performance. And then you have the appraisal interview, and this is a situation where an employee usually sits down with a line developer to identify improvement targets and discuss whether previous targets have been met. So the employee sits down and they um, identify and tell the manager, look, these are things that need to be improved. We have to set different goals. We have to set new targets. And they will also discuss if the previous targets of the business are in that department have been met. Then we have also in the workplace, training and education courses specifically designed to meet job requirements so that employees can make a better contribution to the firm's objectives. So the firm can, there are some instances where firms give their employees scholarships or pay for them to go and do a course so that they can add to the development and the betterment and the productivity of the firm. And then we have here health initiatives, and we know that in order for you to be productive, in order for you to work well, your body must be in good shape and form. If you're at work sick or if you're always taking sick leaves, that may not be a good thing. That will hinder productivity. And so you can put in the company or the firm can set up initiatives where their employees can have things like health insurance, safety training on the job, and recreational opportunities at work. So you may have like sports facilities, you may have a gym, or you may have rest areas, but just making sure that the overall health of your employee is great so that they can um, work at their best. Then we have improved working conditions, for example, through offering longer breaks during the workday or something like longer maternity breaks. These things here can actually add to the motivation of your work, your labor force, knowing that you're getting a 5 minute break or a 10 minute break in between your task, or I guess a little longer lunch break, whatever the case may be. You can in, um, you can improve the productivity by sometimes taking a break. We know that we need to reset sometimes in order to move forward. And then in terms of countrywide, human resources development involves helping people to become more effective to achieve improved targets and high results through an improved education system. So in a country, it would be nice that you have almost free, sometimes education, so that you can have a skilled and qualified labor force. Um, yeah, and then you have improving the health system. So you may want to employ more doctors or making healthcare affordable or free so that you can improve the overall productivity of your country. And then you have improving working conditions so that workplaces are safer, healthier, and more motivating. This includes the number of accidents at work, the length of work breaks, and how flexible working hours are. So then we're moving on to the work ethic. So productivity plays a role in work ethic, and work ethic plays a role in productivity. And work ethic can be defined as a belief in the importance of work and that hard work is fulfilling. So your attitude towards work will be a good attitude. You will understand that working efficiently, working properly is going to be fulfilling, and the goals of the firm, or your goals even, will be met. The attitude of employees also significantly influence the productivity of the firm. So firms must pay attention to the work ethic that and how it varies between individuals. So just because I am working hard and I want to get this done today, and I want to make sure that I meet or do everything that I have to get done today inside the workplace, that may not be the case for everyone, and so they may need to introduce or implement motivational strategies so that they can improve the work ethic of the overall staff, so that um, productivity can increase. But this can also lead to self actualization. Like, yes, I can actually do this among the employees, so they would feel accomplished, or they will have a sense of accomplishment, knowing that yes, they were motivated and they actually got X, Y, and Z done today. Given the fact that it was something that they may not have wanted to do back in the day or what's not. And then we have a strong work ethic is central to effective business and nation building, as well as building a strong Caribbean region. So if it is that you have persons who have a good attitude toward working and being better and doing good for themselves and their organizations, overall the country will be better. So you will have persons like becoming more educated. Not everybody's like less people in money blocks, all that stuff. Crime will decrease, and because you have a good work ethic, because you want better for yourself, you want better for your nation, it's going to positively impact the country on a whole and the Caribbean region. And we have here that if people work hard for themselves and for others, they will be productive. And now we're at the use of capital to increase productivity. And this is still under why is productivity important. So capital relates to the resources used by a business, such as machinery, equipment, computers, tools, etc., to produce goods. Capital can be used to create other capital goods such as machines and capital tools. And capital well enables labor productivity to increase. So instead of you doing everything manually, you can use machines, you can use automation to increase productivity. And investing in the business capital wise, it can do numbers um, when it comes to the productivity of the firm. So that's basically it. I have a question here at the end. Can you think of how the issues of land in the Caribbean affect productivity? So that's not necessarily only land. I just mean like, water issues, the makeup of the land, things like deforestation and stuff like that. Could you think of how these issues affect productivity in the Caribbean?
Um, if the main got well, if they don't have any natural resources, like I don't know, say like if it got like no bauxite or like nothing like that, I don't know, due to like some I don't know natural hazard or something like that, then how would there be like any raw material you can make for even output for it to even got output to measure and like say like if them you still need like a location in order for you to like like got the productivity I got people being able to work and to produce and stuff. I mean you could do things online too,
Mhm.
but I don't know, that could be a way.
Yes. So not
And
having
like and also like the boxer and stuff it was got the exportation and like the territory production and stuff like that.
yeah, definitely. So if there is no access to the raw materials, you cannot productivity can decrease because you may have to um import these things. But here in the Caribbean we have bought bauxite and stuff like that. But it's just that we do not have the equipment to produce products using that stuff. It uses a lot of electricity, and here in the Caribbean electricity is very expensive. The oil to mass produce these things is very expensive, so here we cannot do it. um how about deforestation, something like deforestation in Haiti? How can that decrease productivity, the land productivity in Haiti? Deforestation is basically when you cut down all the trees and there's nothing.
Because it gets to oh sorry
You could continue, yeah.
because I guess the villain got like a lot maybe like maybe like land and stuff like people might want like play certain places that got a lot of like trees and stuff like that. I don't know. So like if they might got a lot of competition like for like certain places and like the heating and stuff like that, which might I don't know cause some sort of decrease any productivity and stuff like that.
Yes, so correct. So in terms of the land, when deforestation occurs, you basically damage the land on a whole. So the land is prone to things like flooding, and so that is not necessarily a good place to set up a business. So then in the areas that are actually um, industrialized, or you have nice things, there's going to be competition to set up, and that can decrease productivity for a firm looking to think because They have to look for a place to locate, and when they do that, they probably have to pay large amounts of money to set up in that particular location where the flooding or deforestation has not um, affected that particular area. How about water scarcity here in Barbados? We know St. John and St. Joseph and all the parishes in the country. If there's no water, how can that affect productivity?
Well, if them ain't got any water, then that will obviously that will affect um the land, like the natural resources. Like, you know how there's got like fishermen that does like fish and stuff. Obviously, would need like water and stuff like that too. So that would um affect the productivity there, and like obviously people need water to obviously stay hydrated and to be healthy and stuff. So I mean, and do other daily tasks. So if them ain't got like any water, then it you need water to be like a lot of you need water as a raw material for a lot of things, especially like if you in like cottage industries, or if you're making like good like um things to eat and stuff like that. So if you don't have that, then there can't really be like far away linkages and stuff like that in order for you to like be producing anything at all. So then they can't gonna productivity.
Yeah, so if you do not have water, I know where I live, I experienced water outages for like 5 months straight. That was the last year. And there were businesses here, food businesses here, and they had to, you know, struggle because they had no water to produce the food yet. When you had to cook, when you had to wash up meat, stuff like that, there was no water available for you to do stuff like that. And if you have a, for example, a farm, or your source of income comes from, planting stuff and reaping crops and stuff like that, taking care of animals, that would also decrease the productivity then, because you would have to probably wait on the water truck to come out to catch a whole set of water, then to carry it down to your crops, water your crops, and then bring back up the buckets or the tanks that you have to be filled up with the water truck, and it would just be a whole um, mess. And then, for example, it has here that Cuba experiences a lot of electricity outages quite frequently. So even here in Barbados, over like from since like last year into this year, we also experienced a lot of electricity outages. How will that decrease productivity? How can that decrease productivity? Let me hear from Angie. Angie Arcai.
If you have electricity, you wouldn't be able to put on your machinery for like if you have like a coffee shop or just any appliances that you need to use, you wouldn't be able to use at that point in time. You may have to put in more work, like manually, since you can no longer use machinery to increase your productivity.
Right. So if yeah, so appliances, a lot of machinery, these depend on electricity. Like we literally need electricity in our everyday life. And if there's no electricity, let's say there are a lot of outages, you will have to do things manually. And that can slow down, because we looked at one of the things that we looked at was how, in terms of how to improve or increase productivity, was to make sure that we can implement things like more computerized and automated stuff. So if the electricity is gone, you will have to resort to doing things manually. So instead of um I don't know, something that uses electricity. Same thing with like a coffee shop. You may have to, instead of using the coffee machine to make the coffee, you may actually have to do the mixing and everything yourself. Or even in like a bake shop, baking bread or doing cakes or something like that, you may have the mixer, the electrical mixer, the one that you plug in. And instead of using that, you may actually have to use your hands to mix the stuff. And some of the workers may not be able to do that quickly because they're so accustomed to working with a mixer that it becomes almost normal. So when it's time for them to actually use their hands and mix the ingredients, it takes an extremely long time. Um, so yeah, that's basically it for today. That's it for today. In terms of looking at how productivity can improve or improve or better different aspects. Next week we will look at we will explain the role of capital in production. We will look at the importance of it in production. We look at the different types of capital and maybe take a look at the different types and levels of production. I just want to thank you guys for coming. I hope that everything was clear. And on that note, I will ask if you have any questions or if anything was um, unclear.
Yeah.
But everything was like taken as, yeah, everything was clear. So I will see you guys next week, God willing. So I will send when I put on the different parts of the Caribbean, that the different areas that affect the productivity of the Caribbean due to land. When I put those on this slide, I will send the slide from, and this will be the whole slide dealing with productivity and production in the chat. So do enjoy the rest of your evening.
You too, man.
Same
Bye.
to you.
Thank you. All right, goodbye.